Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Dr. Hoda. Hello, my dear friends. Today we have a story lesson for fourth grade. Our story is The Railway Children. Chapter 1, How It All Began. Preview questions. Where do you think the children lived at first? Why do you think the men will take the children's father away? Why do you think the children and their mother will move to a smaller house? Roberta, Peter, and Phyllis were not railway children at first. They were ordinary children. They lived with their mother and father in a large house in the city. Their mother stayed at home and looked after them. She read them stories and played games with them. Their father worked in a government office and came home only on weekends. Roberta was the eldest, and then came Peter, and then Phyllis. When this story began, they were a happy family. They had nothing to worry about. Their father was able to pay for a cook and a maid. So their mother didn't have to do a lot of housework. On Peter's 10th birthday, he received a model railway engine for a present. It made real steam and the steam made it move. But there was something wrong with it. It blew up and wouldn't work anymore. When the children's father came home that weekend, he looked at the engine. I can mend it, he said, but I haven't time now. I'll mend it another day. As the family sat happily around the table eating their meal, there was a knock at the door. The maid went to answer it. She soon came back and said to the children's father, "There are 2 men to see you, sir. I have asked them in to the front room." The children's father thanked the maid and went to see the 2 men. He was gone a long time. The children heard their father's voice. He seemed to be shouting. When he came back into the dining room, he said, "I must go away. I have a problem with the government." He left the house with the 2 men. The children asked their mother what was happening. "Don't worry," she said. "Everything will be all right." Every day for the next week, the children's mother left the house early in the morning and didn't return until late in the evening. She looked ill and worried all the time. "There is something wrong," the children said. They asked the cook and the maid if they knew what it was, but they wouldn't say anything to the children. Then, about a week after their father went away, their mother said, "I'm sorry, children, but we must leave this house. We are going to live in a smaller house in the country." At first, the children were excited. They thought this was a good idea. However, when they got to the house in the country, they were not happy. It was small and dirty, and Roberta thought she saw rats. The children's mother told them that they weren't rats. They were just big mice. They didn't really believe her, but they pretended that they did. Only some of their furniture from their old house was in the cottage. Everything else was in boxes. "I'm hungry," Peter said, soon after they arrived. "Can we have some supper? I'm afraid the lady I paid to clean here and buy some food hasn't done her work very well," the children's mother said. "The cottage is still very dirty and there isn't any fresh food." "What are we going to do?" Roberta asked. "There is some canned food in a box in the cellar," her mother replied. "Let's go and see what there is." They went down the stairs to the cellar. It was very dark under the house. "There are some candles somewhere," the children's mother said. "Let's all look for them." They soon found the candles. Then they looked around for something to open the box with. Peter found a spade. He pushed it under the lid of the box and pulled up to slowly open it. Inside, there were tins of sardines and a box of biscuits. "It isn't much of a meal," the children's mother said, "but it will be enough until the morning. Then we can go to the shop in the village and buy what we need." The children were dirty and dusty. There wasn't any water in the cottage. So they went into the yard where there was a pump. اللي هي زي طلمبة كده اللي بتضخ المية. They had great fun washing under the pump. After the meal, they all felt tired. It's been a long and exciting day, their mother said, so let's go to bed early. She found some sheets and blankets in another box. So they all went to bed, except for their mother. She stayed up very late unpacking the many boxes and putting things away in the drawers and cupboards. The next morning, the children woke up early. Let's get up and explore, Roberta said. We haven't looked at the garden yet. The children washed quickly under the pump, got dressed, and ran out of the cottage into the garden. The house was on top of a hill, and the garden led down to a railway line at the bottom. There was a tunnel too, but the children couldn't hear a train. The weather was already warm, and the children lay down in the sun and thought about their new life. The cottage was small but comfortable. We'll soon get used to it, Roberta said. Phyllis said, we haven't any servants here. We'll have to help Mother with the cooking and housework. I can't cook, Peter said. Don't worry, Roberta laughed. We'll soon find something for you to do. The children soon fell asleep in the warm sun. Their mother came outside and woke them up. I've got a surprise for you, she said. There is another room. I thought it was a kitchen cupboard, but it's a small room. Come and see. She led the way to a door in the cottage that opened from the kitchen into a small room. There was a table in the room. On the table, there was roast beef, cheese, and apple pie. The lady who cleaned the cottage, Mrs. Viney, did leave us food, she said. She just forgot to tell us where it was. The children sat up at the table and ate the biggest breakfast they had ever had. Mother said, what are you going to do after breakfast? Can we go and look at the railway? Peter said. Perhaps a train will come. I'm sure it will if you wait long enough, Mother said. Off you go, but don't stay out too long. Review questions. Where did the children's father work? Why was the family born now? What did the children live near? So by now we came to the end of our chapter. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye.